Professor Spitz.
No. Easiest way is not.
Obviously, both presentations are incredibly inspiring in terms of an alternative way of viewing things we face on a regular basis, and also expanding the way we see what we face on a regular basis. I'm told we have half an hour to discuss some of these points, and there's in a sense so much to explore. I wonder if the first thing is your 6 areas that you mentioned before, and people the wares, if you like, where
except underwear.
Mind on Tiger Airways. So if we just have a look at these for a start. People wear, could be a test, couldn't it? Yes, money wear. Quality. But I thought possibly to divide the space between these 6 points and your final questions actually could be quite an interesting way. But if we start with some of these areas, linking also with the areas to do with funding. I mean, maybe, for example, that some of these areas align more neatly and clearly with particular approaches and directions, and others do differently. Any sort of comments on those areas? Any responses to the 6 points?
I mean, we are very international here, and we have some friends who have a US background. And if it comes to hardware, like buildings, your country has an outstanding history in encouraging wealthy people to donate money to build a whole building. So that is as well an idea that you might look into in your region. I talk to you from a German perspective, where a lot of things are sponsored by the public sector. But to look at the success story of the US approach, I know you want to say the public sector in the US does nothing for culture, everything, but you can as well see the positive elements, because here in Southeast Asia, you have incredibly wealthy people. And you can buy 5 Ferraris, but you can as well buy only 3 Ferraris and give the money for the 2 other Ferraris to build the whole building.
I think that's a really important point. There's a joke in Europe sometimes that America is the worst case scenario when it comes to public funding, and look what they've managed to achieve. I mean, if you look at the conservatories, for example, very little public source funding has gone into those, but thanks to Mr. Eastman and so on, there is obviously a huge volume of tradition in this direction. In our own case, we were extremely fortunate in Singapore, for example, that although we have significant government funding, one of the things that's been a defining difference has been to find an individual or a family who recognized the virtue of giving towards longer term support. And one of the things I think is really interesting in this field, and maybe it's because in some cases there's a richness through the systems, but there are individuals who want to give back into fields of the arts. So in terms of individuals who may give to hardware, I do think music schools are in a much stronger position than those areas where there's an expectation the government would give. I mean, you can get people who give to hospitals in this region, but actually it may be worth looking for individuals who are passionate about the arts, of course believe that the local communities could do more, but to have a name attached to a building or something is a way forward. And so I think particularly in hardware, ironically, we think that with the hardware one has to go to the government. Your point, I think, is absolutely valid, that actually often the way to get the hardware is almost the easiest thing you can get from the wealthy individual, because you have the opportunity to name the space or to name the building or whatever, so that there's a way forward there. So thank you for that. I think that's really...
Yeah, I thought I'll just thank you to both gentlemen for such an inspiring presentation. I thought I'd share a point. One of the things I was thinking about as I was listening to both presentations was that in my mind, in Dr. Suri's and Norbert's mind, music is a need, is an essential. You know, and one of the things we talked about all day is how diverse and how interesting and how rich Southeast Asia is in terms of culture. But you know, the other flip side of that coin is that we are in a region that is now obsessed with keeping up economically. You know, and you know, I'm not sure if in all of our countries that this need for culture, this essential nature of the arts and culture is thoroughly and deeply rooted. You know, and I think that becomes, I think, the first question. You know, before we even ask for money or support or audience, why do people come to the arts? You know, and why do people choose to give money to the arts? Do they really believe that culture is essential, that music is essential? You know, and I think that's the first question. I come back to a question that I asked Dr. Hung when I was first asked to do this job, the Saigon Philharmonic. You know, there are 1,500 students in the Ho Chi Minh Conservatory of Music. You know, the average salary of the musician that work in my orchestra is extremely low. I mean, I don't even want to tell you how much because it's embarrassing. You know, and yet there are 1,500 students who have chosen to do music in Saigon. You know, and I asked her why. I said why. I remember, I think we had lunch and I asked her why. You know, the parents send their children to do music when there is no money to be made in this job. And she said to me, in Vietnam, that parents feel that music is a way of raising their children's character and upbringing. You know, that it makes their children better people, more civilized, you know, more sophisticated people. That's why parents like to send their children to study music, even though there really isn't any money in it. You know, and I think that becomes the first question for us in Southeast Asia: how to establish in the minds of our governments, of our people, of the people who invest money in our countries, the people who make money in our countries, to recognize culture and music as essential, important, and central to our lives and our societies. I think that is the first question before we even start asking all these other questions of how to get funding. So that's my contribution. I would love to hear some stories and share it from all the other countries around the table.
I think money is very important for musicians. If you go for $1, $2, $3, $1, $2, it's different. You play the same song, got different things.
I cost it very expensive.
Yeah, that's the easy answer. A musician, after they perform, like they go to the fresh market, they need money right away. They cannot wait for you to pay tomorrow. They after finishing, they need the money now. And you cannot teach the rich people that you have to have a culture. You cannot. But you have to show them your job. You have to do the quality and have the chance for them to listen to you. You cannot. You have to create environment for them to come. So the quality comes first. And in the same time, director is not a beggars. Please give me some money. Nobody asking me always how much do you want. I said, oh, whatever you pay. I don't ask for money, but I asking you for friendship. It means something that not 100% from him, but of course I need 100%. But I still have some value on my side that I do need a friendship. I also have my part, and I do need your part. You cannot change other side. You cannot change rich people. You cannot change your government. But you have to do on your own side, complete first.
Just one comment. In modern management language, you would say you must create project ownership on all sides involved. You say, I need friendship, but friendship occurs if both believe in the same thing. believe that this is necessary to do now. You share the idea, and both sides think this is our idea. So project ownership is on both sides. And the other one who is asked to support does not have the feeling, I can support him because he has enough money. But support him because we say yes, we both think that this is the right thing to do now.
I mean, we have to sing the same song.
Yes, yes, please.
Chef, with HCMC Conservatory, we have the project with Norway, and we keep it already 5 years, and we will continue for 5 years more. And from Wei-Shan, she presented for this project, and have some idea.
Okay, I just want to introduce that I'm representing the Transposition from Norway. It's a cooperation mechanism for 7 musical institutions from Norway and 5 musical institutions in Vietnam, and it's an exchange case, so thank you. I would like to share with you a little bit from something from the arts management symposium that we just did in Hanoi a couple of weeks ago. Now, thinking about funding for the arts, I totally agree with Adrian and Dr. Sukri telling that we are in the countries that are so obsessed with economic development rather than thinking about cultural values or development of culture and music. But then, as Dr. Sukri said, pointed out very exactly that we need to think about our arts and what we are doing. We need to bring it to the excellent level and then make it heard and make it seen to people. Now, what I'm sharing with you is a principle from the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C., and they are promoting that concept all over the world, that we are, in order to survive, in order to attract funding, we need to think about excellent art. That's the winning factor. So if we are doing excellent art, if we are doing great art, and if we are marketing it aggressively, meaning that we make our work seen and heard by people, we will be building a big family in terms of people who buy tickets to our concerts, family in terms of people who pay for their children to come to have musical education, family in terms of people who help us in the policy side with the government, or family in terms of people who give money to us to do our job. That if we can expand our family, then the family will bring money into our institution, and that money can be invested to make more and better great art. And then that great art will go to more marketing and go to more family and go back to more money and go back to more great art. So that's the cycle that is promoted by the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts. And for us, I think that's a way. And they do point out that if we don't have money buying our stuff, we can try to think of more coordination. And I think that's the main thing that we are all here today. That we try to know more about our own resource and how we can utilize the resource of our friends, institution, and to strengthen our own operation and to use our resource to help the development of others. And so that's one thing that I would like to share with you. Thank you.
Actually, that's incredibly valuable because